Welcome to LinkedIn Live / we're on YouTube / LaPora, you never told me if you shared it with your social media channels as well. So we're a couple different places. And my name is Christine Dykman, and I am the Workforce Readiness Director for Garden State SHRM HR organization, as well as working in HR, as well as a job seeker ally, as well. I guess I could go on and on. You know, I'm a mom, and I'm a cat mom, and I'm a wife, and yeah, it just goes on and on. I'm a little bit of everything, right? I have lots of different hats. However, we are not here to learn about me. We're here to learn about LaPora Lindsey. We met quite a few years ago. She had spoken to our job search group in Monmouth County, New Jersey, about different ways to land a job, different job seeker methods. And in that time, I was reading her bio again. She has written a book, which is an absolutely wonderful book, but I can't believe, like, I'm 2022, like that seems a lifetime ago. It was really around the corner, right? But yet all those principles apply. And she talks about being a wife of a military, being a military spouse, being surrounded by the military, and how you can help incorporate them into your organization. It actually is a diversity inclusion part of hiring, but it's also that you can find really reliable people that maybe you never thought about before to fill those unfillable positions as an HR or a talent acquisition person. So I'm going to let LaPora tell us a little bit about that and why we should even think about it, because when we think about military, we're like, oh yeah, they're here for like 4 months and then they're gone. And that's not necessarily the case. Correct. So I want you to think about hiring military and them being the prime person for some of your open positions, because they're going to be a really great fill. All right, take it away, LaPora. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you so much, Christine, for having me here today. I'm so grateful to be here. I'm in Omaha and I'm getting like error notifications here and there. So not because of Omaha, but because of the weather. I probably should have stated that. Like, it's super rainy and windy.
I didn't say that, yes. And you know what? If LaPora checks out for a second while she's trying to get back on, we'll just have a little dance party until that point. And then she'll come back and all will be good, and she can pick up where she left off.
Yeah. Let's hope though it stays with me here. But so glad to be here. So there's a lot of different things that I wanted to cover. I'll just kind of take it topic by topic. Number one, I guess, is just kind of really addressing those misconceptions, because there are a lot of misconceptions.
So many.
Yeah, from amongst military spouses and veterans. Like, there are some that are pretty much overlap, but then there's some that are very distinctive as well. So one of them is that military spouses or veterans aren't suited for specific role types. A lot of times for military spouses, they assume that that spouse has been a stay-at-home parent for the majority of their career, or that they are a job hopper, or that they won't be around for long, which that one specifically I'm going to address here shortly.
Thank
and
you.
Then and then for veterans, assuming that, you know, what they typically see on TV, you know, the individual who is in the war zone, who only knows combat, like that is the only set of skills that that veteran has in order to offer. But as a military spouse, I'm going to tell you, like, it is so much more broad range than that. And there's so many different layers to what military spouses and what veterans can bring to the table.
It sounds like that's like a big obstacle. Like, if you are in the military or a military spouse or a family member, that you have to overcome that preconceived notion before you even think about applying to a job, and how those skills that you already have can fit in. So it's just one more layer to that whole process.
Absolutely. And it's a frustrating process, if I'm being frankly honest. Like, it's a frustrating process because you are consistently trying to catch up for the most part. So even if you have been, and I say this from personal experience, even if you have been in an industry for 10 plus years, you are coming to a new location where they don't know you. They don't know the 10 years of experience that you have. And they're looking at the resume and they're seeing that it's broken up into 2-3 year increments. And so they're wondering, like, well, how much experience do you really have versus having that 10 years experience in one location?
Now, LaPora, let me ask you. I mean, that seems to be how long an average person nowadays, 2024, stays in a position, whether it's 2 years or 3 years or maybe 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And so, does that make it a little bit more equal for a military versus a non-military job seeker in that respect?
I would like to hope so, and I would like to think so, but unfortunately, Christine, that's not necessarily the case.
Really? No.
Yeah. So typically it is that 3.8 to 4.1
Hmm.
year time span for
Yeah.
the average job seeker, whether they're military affiliated or not. But here's the thing, and this is specifically as a military spouse, there's like this big label on our head that says we're going to move, which is
Wow.
it's a very unfair advantage because number one, not all military spouses move, right? There are some.
I don't think that that's really advertised at all. What do you mean military spouses don't necessarily move?
Yeah, so it really just depends on the job of their spouse, and it just depends on what's happening in that active duty person's career. Sometimes orders can be extended. Sometimes individuals decide to geo-batch, which is essentially the military spouse and the active duty service member are not physically together. They're still
Oh,
married, but they're not physically together, allowing for a little bit more stability when it comes to the military spouse in
yeah,
their dependents. So if they have children, for them to kind of stay at a duty station for an extended amount of time.
right.
But the thing about it is, and this is, I've had several different times where I've been told like I'm not going to get the promotion or they're not going to hire me specifically because I am a military spouse, and there are no um
Really?
necessarily, yeah, there are no necessarily laws or regulations that kind of prevent that. Like that's not
Wow.
necessarily law wise, it doesn't necessarily classify
Yeah,
as a
yeah.
discrimination per se. However, the thing
Okay.
about it is, even though there is that typical time span, it would be
Mhm.
the same for your other civilians
Yes,
that are out
exactly.
and about. The only thing
Right.
is that label isn't there,
Yes,
but
right.
there's a certain level of loyalty that you're going to get with veterans and with military spouses because for the veterans, like they've been a part of teams, they've been a part of collaborating for
Mhm,
the
mhm.
majority of their career. And for a military spouse, they are looking for the opportunity to be able to showcase their talents. And as I mentioned before, to catch up. And that
Right.
means doing whatever they can as quick as they can to demonstrate how their skills are relevant to the place that they're working in.
I find as a recruiter slash job seeker ally that it's been very difficult for a military person or the spouse of a military person or family member for that matter to be able to, because they have such a wide range of experiences, to be able to take that language that they've been kind
Mm,
of
yeah.
conditioned to know and put it in civilian lingo so that a civilian recruiter reading a resume knows what they actually did and what they were responsible for and how many team members they work with. And there's a disconnect there where a lot of recruiters are like, I don't have time for this, and they just
Yeah.
push them aside. Are you finding that still to be the case, or has that kind of changed and moved the needle a little bit forward in success?
Um, I don't think that it has permanently moved the needle in one direction or the other. I
Mhm.
feel like it's probably more like a pendulum, just
Okay.
depending
A
on
roller
a
coaster, up and down, up
yeah,
and down,
just
right?
depending on a couple of factors, right? But one of the things that I will say that has been extremely helpful is that there are a lot of programs that are out there in
Yes.
place for veterans and military spouses,
Mhm,
but
mhm.
specifically in this case for veterans to help them translate their experience.
Oh,
And
okay.
so
Okay.
that is something, and I have a list of different support initiatives, but my point behind that is that there may be an opportunity for individuals who currently work in HR to provide a broader scope of volunteering, providing a broader scope of training for service
Okay.
members who are getting ready to transition out of the military. Because the more civilians that are able to come and say, hey, this is what we understand, this is our lingo, this is the language that we speak, I feel
Mhm.
like the more helpful it's going to be to those veterans who are getting out of the military, who
Yes.
they need someone who doesn't speak their language to interpret, right? To help them
Yes.
translate
Yeah.
everything that they've done to what is going to be understandable by someone who could potentially read their resume as a recruiter or hiring manager.
Oh, I absolutely agree. And I know that that has been a struggle, even I have been in the hiring manager side, I have been in the recruiter's shoes, I have
Mm,
been in the job seeker side, and getting a hiring manager to understand what that resume entails, and speaking that language for a hiring manager to better understand what they were responsible for and the job duties, and what is, again, two different languages.
yeah,
And sometimes
absolutely.
that is another hurdle for a recruiter to handle, going to a hiring manager, and they don't necessarily want to spend the time doing it. So that's another reason that they fall to the wayside.
Yeah.
Um, I'm hearing, I'm asking you a ton of questions,
Yeah,
LaPora,
no, that's fine.
but I'm seeing a lot of entry level type positions. Veterans welcome, we'll hire veterans, blah blah blah.
Mm,
But yet they're supposed to take that entry level position and feed a family of four on that entry level position with no place to go in the future. I'm wondering, again, are there other opportunities besides that entry level that are being opened to veterans or military personnel? Or is that kind of the just across the board, no matter where you are in the country?
yeah, so I feel like there's almost this challenge of, like you said, Christine, where there is, hey, you getting out of the military, here's an entry level job for you. Or, hey, you're a military spouse, you'd probably do really good with an entry level admin
Mhm.
position because most
Right.
likely you've had a gap, or this is a position that
Mhm.
we can fill easily. Right. So, all of these reasons for entry level. So, there's two things that I kind of want to address here. Number one is that military or veterans and military spouses are definitely well equipped for a wide range of job opportunities. Keeping in mind that you have some military spouses and even veterans before they join the military, right? They a lot of times they had a career before that. It
Exactly.
could range from being a physician, it could range from working in public relations, it can range from carpentry, it can range from human resources, right? So there's all of these different jobs that
Mhm.
military spouses and veterans have had, and now it's being equated to, this is the scope of the work that we feel like you're qualified for, either because there's a lack of understanding of the military culture, there's that misunderstanding there, right?
Mhm.
Or perhaps just the assumption that they don't have the necessary transferable skills, which we will definitely talk about, which would be necessary for the role. The other part of that, because I do want to explain the other part, is that I'm not saying that military spouses and veterans, when they're applying for these jobs, that they're all the time, are they never are they going to need an entry level job, and never
Oh, yeah,
are
yeah.
they going to need anything like
Absolutely.
this, but more so
Mhm.
just understanding, giving the essentially offering a wide range of opportunities is
Mhm.
essentially
Mhm.
what I'm advocating for and what is being advocated for, versus essentially putting someone in a box and saying, this is what we feel like you can offer that, or there's no other
Okay.
opportunities
So
available.
it's the other side, the hiring manager or the recruiter just kind of putting you in the box and just assuming based on the words on your resume what you can do, as opposed to the person writing the resume and highlighting those transferable skills that they have,
Yeah.
showing that they can do the job that is being advertised.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
it's
And
like well, I'm going to say a job seeker that without military background doing that same thing. They can be anything they want to be, taking a spin off of the military there.
yeah.
But it's a matter of highlighting those transferable skills and what you want to do, as opposed to not so much talking about the things you've done, but you don't want to do them again.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of times you will find from many veterans that they don't necessarily want to do the same thing
Right.
that they've done in the military. Like
Mhm.
they're looking to be able to expand.
Okay.
And my thing is that if recruiters or hiring managers are attending these hiring fairs where not necessarily the resume is being provided up front, but that conversation is being had,
Yes.
to not allow the stereotypes or whatever the pre-notions are to determine what type of potential that specific veteran has, because they're very different,
Mhm.
and you can't group one in with the other million or so, right? Like there's going to be a vast difference there. And the other thing to really keep in mind is that when we're going back to the military spouses,
Mhm.
is understanding that when these conversations are being had, or when consideration is being made,
Mhm.
considering the fact that a lot of times military spouses have so many different
Mhm.
certifications and so many different
Yes.
degrees and awards, and sometimes they are able to put it on the resume that they have, and
Mhm.
sometimes they're not. I think that because of being grouped in this box, a lot of times military spouses do feel like maybe this is the only job that I am able to apply to.
Right.
But I think that if those conversations are able to be had prior to, via at a job fair or providing training with a military affiliated organization, like providing
Mhm.
that civilian insight, I think that that would be extremely helpful in getting those resumes not only translated, but ensuring that those skills are
Right.
shared with
Right.
the knowledge that they may have a fair chance in getting that position.
Well, I think that's very interesting, all of those points. And anyone listening now or could be listening to the recorded version, it gives you a lot of food for thought that, hey, I never really considered that, or I never thought about them being in a viable group that could help me to achieve my company's goal, and not just that minimum wage earner who comes and goes. And I think that seems to be that stereotype of that of a military retiree or a veteran or a family member.
Hmm.
That's what they're thinking. So definitely. I also think that you had mentioned there's a lot of links that are going to help people to do the research to figure out what are the best ways to highlight and showcase the skills that you have, to bring them to the forefront so that people start to take notice, right? Some
Yes.
support channels. I know in the HR world, if you haven't already, if you are listening, that they offer a free, you don't even have to be an HR sure member, but you can go onto the website and you can get the Veterans at Work certificate. And that is another way to expand your horizons and your knowledge by attaining this certificate and getting veterans back to work and learning about the struggles and how they can help you to achieve your goals, things that you didn't even think about before.
Hmm.
So I highly recommend doing that as well. And again, it's free for anybody that wants to do it, anybody in your organization. LaPora, you have some links as well. So feel free to add those to the chat box when you get a moment. I'm keep picking your brain, but
Okay.
go ahead, take it away.
Yes. No, I will. Okay. Oops. Here we go. I'm going to add these here. Let's see if it'll let me. And okay. Well, I'm going to talk through them. Yeah, it's not allowing me. I have to connect, I guess, to YouTube to do that.
Well,
Um,
and that's okay. Just so you know as well, for those listening, all of the contact information, the website, LaPora's email address, all of that stuff is in the advertisement for today's session. So if you just contact her and reach out and say, hey, I'd love those links, LaPora would be happy to share that information with you.
yes.
And then you'll have it at your ready whenever you have the time to take a look at one article or two articles or whatever those checklists are that are going to help you be a better recruiter and better HR manager.
Yes, and then I'll also be able to add it to LinkedIn as well, and
Awesome.
in YouTube. I'll just go back in, and it'll be a delayed post, but it'll be there. Um,
Okay. Thank you.
yeah, you're welcome. So some of those organizations, there are quite a few, but they're actually very, very useful. So in no particular order, we have American Corporate Partners, which is available for both military spouses and for veterans. And essentially what this is this is a mentorship program. So it allows military spouses and active duty service members getting ready to transition to work with the mentor, somebody who is already in the either in the industry that they want to be in, or that can provide some professional and career development advice.
Okay.
The reason why I bring this up is because this could be a great opportunity for the individuals who are listening to serve as a mentor, right? To be able to have the opportunity to interact with these individuals one-on-one, and to help them translate their resumes, and also to help them see how their skills can be relevant to a specific skill set.
I don't mean to interrupt you.
No, yeah.
I'm going to interrupt you a lot, but do you have to have a military background to be that mentor? Do you have to be a veteran of some kind in order to mentor other military spouses or veterans?
For American Corporate Partner, no, you do not. I utilize the program myself. For my business, I had a mentor. My mentor, who I still remain in contact with, has had zero military affiliation. So no one in his family is active duty military or whatever the case may be. However, you know, that doesn't negate the ability for him to provide great insight.
Absolutely.
Right.
If a civilian is raising their hand and saying, "Hey, I'm going to help," then I definitely think that anybody should take them up on that, whatever their expertise is, because they're willing to help. So yeah, absolutely.
Staying on that topic of mentorship, there's also another program called or a link in a program called Veterati.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Veterati. I wish I could type. So that's VETERATI. I wish I could type it in, but my chat's not working. Once again, another opportunity for individuals who don't necessarily have to be military affiliated, but you can provide that insight to military spouses and service members. Specifically, it's primarily focused on entrepreneurship or professional development, personal development, right? So there's all these different areas. You can mark your availability, things along those lines.
Or do they meet with through Zoom kind of thing?
So typically via phone. Yep, via
Okay.
phone. And for American Corporate Partners, you can meet either virtually or via phone.
Okay. I wasn't sure how that worked. If it was, you know, in person. I mean, you could be across the nation at this point.
And that's perfectly fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yep. State borderlines is not an issue when it comes to the ability to be able to mentor military spouses and veterans. The other program that I wanted to mention is HOH, or it's known as Hiring Our Heroes.
Okay.
And there's actually two different programs that I'm going to cover that fall under Hiring Our Heroes, or HOH. So the first one is for military spouses. It is an HOH fellowship program, and the active duty actually have a fellowship program as well, where there is, but specifically for the military spouses, it's like a 12-week program where a company is able to onboard a military spouse as a fellow. The money that is paying for that position is not coming out of that company's financial bucket, but it is being supported through other means. And they have the opportunity to essentially give that military spouse or that veteran the opportunity to try their hand at the job. So whether that's human resources, or it is an administrative job, or it is whatever the case may be, whatever that interest is, that's an opportunity for organizations. And perfect. People are thank you so much, Terrence. Because I don't have access to that. Appreciate it. So this is an opportunity for individuals or for companies and organizations to say, hey, how about we see what it's like to hire a military spouse or
try before you buy.
Exactly.
And get mentorship along the way. I mean, how could you go wrong?
And the opportunity for the military spouse and the veteran to also understand how it is to work in that type of company or that type of organization. And at the end of those 12 weeks, if it's a fit, then an offer can be extended by the company. But if it's not, that's that's okay too. If
Everybody parts ways and
yeah,
everything.
but
Okay.
hopefully that individual, that military spouse or that veteran are able to walk away with some really good tools that they can use in their continuous job search. The other part of HOH or hiring our heroes. Oh, thank you. Perfect.
All right,
Love
Terry, we're counting on you for everything here. All right.
is
I've heard of HOH before. I have not heard of that I can't even say it, the Tari. Yeah.
Veterati.
Thank
Yeah.
you. I haven't heard of that before. And the one before that you had mentioned,
American Corporate Partners. Yeah,
I didn't know
ACP.
about that either. So that's awesome that all these new things are coming about because there's such a need in the community,
Right.
whether it's a military community or a job seeker community. There's this huge need for support and some help. So I think this is awesome. Keep on going. Keep on going. Tell us more.
So for the hiring our heroes or HOH, the other program is Skill Bridge program. And this program is specifically for veterans. And these are active duty service members who are getting ready to transition out of the military. So the Skill Bridge, consider it the bridge between where they are now, and where they want to be. And that opportunity there is kind of bridging their skills to work at that organization or company. And that's essentially when the program's times, they vary, just depending on what the organization is able to offer. But it is an opportunity for an organization to temporarily bring a veteran on board. Again, bridging those skills, kind of helping them to figure out where they can potentially go from there, and then perhaps extend an offer at the end of that skill bridge. But I've seen programs vary from 6 months to about 18 months for that skill bridge.
6 months to 18 months.
And I'm sure there's some that are shorter, but those are just only my personal experience with seeing that.
Are there many companies that are involved in that aspect to bridge those skills? Or are you limited where there's two?
No, and that's the thing. And that's why I'm sharing this, is because if an organization isn't part of it, but they're just like, that's interesting. Perhaps this is a way for us to learn more about how to work with veterans, or when I talked about the hiring our heroes fellowship program or military spouses, this is all of these organizations or all of these programs is an opportunity for any organization to apply and to see if they can be a part of this. So it's not just something where, oh, that's a nice to know, I can pass that on, but it's the potential for you and your organization to actively get involved in initiatives that are already in place for hiring military spouses and veterans.
And that's what I love about these initiatives, is that anybody can do that. It doesn't have to be like the CEO. It doesn't have to be the owner. It could be HR, and they could take on that whole role and really work and get meaning out of working with the military and military spouses, and be helping your company at the same time. So you're achieving your strategic goals while you're helping somebody else. And isn't that a win-win for everybody at the end of the day?
Yeah, absolutely, Christy. It really is a win. And it's like, how could you go wrong with programs that are already put into place? You don't have to create a new program. You simply just have to, make your company a part of the conversations that are already happening.
Exactly. So, exactly. I love that. I love that. And it's really just bridging that gap. I mean, there's so much that is food and you kind of brush it off and it's like, I have enough to do and I don't have time for that. And it really doesn't take a lot of time. It really doesn't take a lot of initiative from you in order to be able to do those things. So it's a way to give back to the community and our military that have been serving us and our country at the same time. So
absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
So I have two more with links, and I know that this is probably like information overload.
All right,
the rule of thumb is
we're waiting.
Don't do more than 3, but I'm way past the 3. So 2 more is Vets to Industry, And
Okay.
then what's the other one? Oh, the Military Spouse Employment Program. So those are the last two I'll cover,
Okay.
or MSEP for Terry who's typing. So MSEP and then or V2I for Veterans to Industry, or vets to
V2I.
V2I
Okay.
or Vets to Industry. Yep.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So for Vets to Industry, this is actually a nonprofit organization where they hold monthly virtual networking sessions. So
Wow. And are
yeah,
they, I guess they're online then,
they're
or?
online and they're free of cost. So
Oh,
the great
okay.
part is it's great for because you have a lot of military spouses
Yeah.
and veterans or individuals who are active duty military who are getting ready to transition out who attend these events. But it's also open to individuals who support military spouses and the veterans. So if you are someone who works in human resources and
Mhm,
you want
mhm.
to you know have these conversations, have these networking, seeing what's out there, seeing what the mentality is like, understand the culture, attend these free events. On that
Mhm.
link that Terry posted, it has the option for you to be able to register for free events. Again, it's virtual,
Okay.
and you have the opportunity. They have the breakout rooms where you can meet with
Oh,
individuals in different breakout rooms, answer
mhm,
questions, but
mhm.
also let people know about your company, let people know about
Okay.
your organization.
So let me ask you with that
Mhm.
said, Laura, I know that you're being in the military. You have all these hats that you're wearing, right? You have a
Yeah.
bunch of things that you're coming to the table with. Are these networking groups only catered to job search, or a little bit of everything? You mentioned breakout rooms. It's, as each room will, oh, this is how you keep up with laundry, and this is how you discipline children, and this is how you look for a job. Like, are they all different breakout rooms, or?
So yeah, they're all different breakout rooms, but the topic is the same. It is a professional development networking session. So
Okay.
in the topics in the room really just depends on who is in the room, right? On
Okay.
depending on organically where that
Yeah.
conversation goes.
Yeah.
The one thing that is streamlined regardless of what breakout room you're in is that every person has the opportunity to introduce themselves. They have the opportunity to share a little bit about them. If
Okay.
there are recruiters in the room, they have the opportunity to share a little bit about the positions that they're looking to fill. If there is a job seeker in the room, then they have the opportunity to share a little bit about the positions that they're seeking. So essentially, everyone's working on their elevator pitch.
Right. Right. That's what it
Right?
sounds like. And it sounds
Yeah.
like I Ken introduced me to this Ken Lang. Thank you. Shout out for him. Um, he introduced me to Clubhouse. And it
Oh,
sounds like
yeah.
Clubhouse used to be back in the olden days. I don't know if it still is.
Yeah.
Of the breakout rooms and people introducing
Yeah.
themselves and everyone having a subject matter expertise or talking
Mhm.
about, whatever they wanted to that moment in time. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, absolutely, and that's exactly what it is. Like it's informal in the way that there is no
Mhm.
structure as this person has to talk
Right,
at this time
right,
in
right,
this
right.
breakout room. And then at the end, so at the beginning, of course, they have a keynote speaker, all of those things, but then they go into the breakout
Okay.
rooms, and at the
How long
end,
is the keynote speaker for?
20 minutes
Okay.
typically. So it's relatively short, and they provide either career strategies or a professional development topic or
Mhm,
something along those lines. Again, we're sticking with that, professional
mhm.
development,
Right.
networking. So what
Mhm.
are subtopics that could fall
Yeah,
underneath
yeah.
that category?
Okay. All right. And that is vets to industry, right?
Yes, Vets to
Okay.
Industry or V2I. Yep, the links are all looking good. I'm
Yeah,
checking them. They're
I
looking
know,
good.
right? I just want to make sure.
So the last one, because I'm way over my rule of three, but you can always come back to it later.
It's
If
all
you think of
right. It's
one,
all
just come
right.
back to
You
it.
know what? I'm learning a lot too because, the last time that I really looked into those types of support systems
Mhm.
for the military in transition, coming back and going to it, well, there weren't all of these places. There were
Mm,
not all these organizations that were so helpful and providing so much information
yeah.
that you're telling me a world of things that I didn't even know about. So keep on going.
Oh, good, good. I'm glad I could help. Hopefully these organizations work out for y'all. So the last one that I'm going to share, and there's many more, but the last one that I'm going to share is the Military Spouse Employment Partnership, or MSEP. So MSEP.
Okay.
Um, so this is essentially a group of, man, now it's probably 400 plus different companies, organizations. Typically,
Wow.
these are nationwide or international companies and organization where they've kind of made the, let me see, kind of, take out the kind of, they have made the commitment that they're going to make hiring, military spouses a priority. And so with that, there's a list. If you go to the link, there's a list of like all of these different companies, but it also
Mhm.
puts military spouses in the know of, hey, these are potential companies that not only hire military spouses, but they also perhaps offer remote opportunities or hybrid opportunities. Yep, there's that link
Mhm.
there. Thanks so much, Terry. Hybrid opportunities. Perhaps they provide the opportunities for you to transfer from one location to the other,
Oh, wow.
right? So, and not every company is going to offer the
Yeah,
exact
yeah.
same thing,
Right.
right? But it is a really great way to kind of, if your company is interested in that, to kind of put your company on the map in the line of sight of view, essentially, for military spouses, and to get them a little bit more familiar about what it is and what you do. And again, like I shared with the rest of these resources,
Mhm.
you don't have to be military affiliated to be a part of this. You just have to be a military supporter, right? Because all of these
Okay.
are
Okay.
support initiatives. Um,
Right.
because one of the things I will say is that just because military spouses or veterans hear the term military friendly, that doesn't
Mhm.
necessarily mean that it's military friendly. It's not synonymous. And what I mean by that is military friendly doesn't necessarily mean that they are, willing and looking to hire military spouses. It doesn't mean that they're necessarily
Right, right.
willing to understand the culture of veterans and support and provide opportunities for
Mhm, mhm.
those military individuals to translate their abilities.
Okay, okay. So your best bet then, with that background and knowing what you know, is to kind of start. If I were military, if I were a veteran, I'm leaving the service, or I'm a military spouse, I would probably want to start with one of those websites, those organizations,
Mhm.
before I just went to Indeed and said apply, 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 apply. I'm not
Yeah.
knowing, you want somebody that's going to be a little bit more lenient or friendlier to you and your circumstances, as opposed to being that complete stranger and applying for a job, even if my skills necessarily match the job description. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, in a way. So getting out of, specifically on when we're talking about veterans, getting out of the military is very scary. Whether
Oh,
you
yeah.
have been in for 2 years, four
Mhm,
years, or
mhm.
20 plus years, it is a very scary thing. And so because of that, we have military family readiness centers,
Okay.
or which are locations where they provide professional development materials, educational resources, things along those lines. And so most of these resources that I mentioned is where they're sending people, is where they're going to go. Now,
Okay.
not all of them is
Right,
necessarily on
right,
this
right.
list, and then it depends on the location.
Mhm.
But for the most part, when we're having these conversations in professional development and we're having these conversations in career strategies, these are the resources that are coming up in just about every conversation when we're talking about military spouses and veterans. How do we get started? How do we get started with networking, creating
Right,
career
right,
strategies? What
right,
companies should you
right.
zone? These are the programs that are coming up as a way to help you get to that point.
Are you seeing veterans or military families, spouses, are you seeing them more successful in a particular industry than another industry? Like, start with this industry, or definitely, if you're interested in, I don't know, admin, then definitely start with one of these sites, or IT, or I don't even know. Do you see one being a little bit more favored than another one?
No, because they're so diverse, and that's the
Okay.
great thing about it, Christine, is that Mm, they're everywhere. Like the interest is everywhere.
Okay.
But I will say that there are, and there's no need to provide this link here. But there is a they do have programs available for military spouses and veterans which help. Um I say us because I am a military spouse, to
Right,
get
of
certain
course.
certifications.
Oh, okay,
Um,
okay,
and those certifications tend to fall
right,
into IT,
okay,
HR,
okay,
like Lean Six Sigma, CompTIA,
okay.
PHR, APHR. What are the other ones? Oh
So
my
they're
gosh.
more like in demand certifications, so to speak.
Yes. Yeah. The PMP
They're seeing,
certifications like
the
that.
labor reports and who wants what and job
Yes.
descriptions and what's listed, and these are the top 10 or whatever it is, and
Yeah.
they're taking it from that point. So is
Absolutely.
AI, I know that's a big topic of conversation now. Is
Yeah.
that something that military has jumped on board to help transition military?
I mean, there's talks about it. I don't specifically work in an agency where I would be in the know of how
Okay.
close it is to being
Right, right.
integrated. So I can't really speak on that. But I will say that the IT certifications that I was referring to, they do try to stay abreast of what are the trends. But whether or
Okay.
not there's one
Yeah.
specifically geared towards AI,
Right.
I'm not
I was
certain.
just curious. Yeah. Um, I would think, and again, I'm assuming, I have no idea if I'm correct or not. But we had COVID, we had
Mhm.
everything shut down. And that was a worldwide event. It wasn't like just 3 states or anything like that. And we were seeing a lot of work from home situations, a lot of jobs that were work from home. And now that we're kind of going back to the office or are back at the office, I keep saying, hearing, oh, we're going back. And I'm like, where have you been? I've been back or whatever, but okay. Um, is that easier, that situation easier to find a work from home type of position because you can travel and your home can be anywhere in the military?
Um, so yes and no. I like that. I
Okay.
think that's a tough one. And the reason I'll say yes is because I feel like a lot of companies during that time became more open to how effective remote work or
Okay.
even hybrid
Yep.
work can be.
Yep.
And then also, I think perhaps more military spouses and honestly just individuals in general who had additional responsibilities, they were more willing to have those conversations, and companies kind of started to understand a bit more as to how the personal lives and our professional lives overlap.
Right.
And in
Much together.
order, yeah, and in order to essentially create a work life situation where we are able to balance. What I mean by
Yeah.
balance is, some days we may be able to devote more time to work, and some days we may be able to devote more time to our family, our health,
Yes.
or our spiritual,
Mhm.
whatever the case may
Mhm.
be.
Right.
More companies are aware of that. But because of that, people are seeing that as a very hot commodity. And
Yeah.
so more people are applying to positions such as that. And so the demand really isn't meeting the supply because
Okay.
they created more positions. But because of that, more people are wanting those positions. They're wanting
Okay.
that flexibility.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I could totally see that. I mean, even Terry says he has a niece. She's married to active duty military, very supportive of our conversation and getting these links out. And thank
Oh
you so
gosh.
much, Terry, for
Yeah.
your support, but helping us with all those links to share and
Yes, thank you.
advertise it so that people know where to go for that information. But because of Terry, because of the conversations that we are having about, hey, we need to get on board. We need to support these people. I don't even know what has happened all these years, but now all of a sudden we're talking about it and we're talking more about it and we're talking more about it. And I think that's awesome because there are different ways. And again, different organizations, like I mentioned, the
Mhm.
LaPora, that exist that we didn't even necessarily know existed. And if you knew about
Exactly.
all of these, awesome. Good for you. You're light years ahead of some of us, like me, where I've only heard of like 2 or 3 compared to everything that LaPora has shared with us today. So I don't know. I think that's great, LaPora.
Oh, thanks. And you mentioned about the remote work, Christine, and
Yeah.
that's one way because a lot of times I think about not everyone, not every organization or company has that as an option, right?
That's true.
And so if a military spouse or a veteran, but specifically military spouse, because typically they're the ones that are going to be perhaps needing to move, is that you can perhaps do a warm handover or make a warm introduction
Okay.
to where you can still hire that military spouse. But if there is a non-competition or non-competitor company that you know of in another state, and you know that military spouse that you have is off the chain, so to speak, like it is an
Yes.
amazing
Yeah.
person,
Yes.
why not make that introduction? Why not have a non-company transfer? Like it's not within the company, but that doesn't mean that that connection can't be made, that introduction can't be made, and that spouse can't transfer with a job before they get there, with it being a new company, because it happens within companies a lot of
It
times.
does.
But it's who's to say that we can't essentially create or companies can't create their own bridge between
Yes.
their company and another company that they're friendly with, and share that valuable asset, which is that military spouse or veteran.
I agree. I have heard of recruiters doing that in some circumstances, but not a lot. And if everybody got on board to share that information and make those referrals state to state, I don't have a job for you. I don't have one in the foreseeable future. I don't even have that industry, but right here, let me make a call or whatever. It takes just a few minutes of your time, but yet you can let them have that conversation after that handoff is complete. And that's awesome. I think that's a really great thing because it's helping the company, which might not be a competitor, and helping the person to in their job search. So absolutely. Yeah. That's great. That's great. As I said before, at the start of this program, SHRM, Society for Human Resources Management, does offer a certificate for getting veterans back to work, and it's called Veterans to Work. And it's about a 10-hour program. You do get a certificate. Yay! Piece of paper. Yay! Okay. But most importantly, anybody can take it in your organization. You don't even have to be employed. It's free. It's wonderful. And I would definitely encourage you to go check out this SHRM Veterans to Work program. And you'll get some hints and tidbits, and you're going to learn about some of these links that LaPora shared with you today. And some of them you're not. So jump on board and share that with everybody else that you've met, because these are invaluable links for you to be able to look at, to find out more information. And hopefully you can pick one, join, and participate and help somebody out who can help somebody else out, who could just pay it forward. Definitely will help.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. Anything else you would like to add, LaPora?
So yeah, I'll close what I have to say with this.
Absolutely.
So the resources that were provided here today, some of them are more so on the individual level, and some of them are ones that would require your organization to kind of give the sign off on. But the fact is, you have options on both ends, and I think that that's really important. So if you're really looking to support and you're really looking to create an opportunity, there's no excuses anymore, because there are different avenues to be able to help assist. And just connecting with military spouses and veterans, just to kind of understand the culture and understand the challenges. But other than that, super grateful for the opportunity, Christine.
Thank you.
And thank you, Terry, for sharing the link.
I appreciate that. And here is a link that, again, Terry, my superhero, posted in our chat room, our chat box here. SHRM.org/SHRM Foundation Veterans at Work Certificate. And again, it's a great program, and I highly encourage you to check it out and complete it. Tell everybody that you work with about it too, and including your hiring managers, because it's just an awesome learning experience. So appreciate it. All right. Well, thank you so much, LaPora. I appreciate it. And you're joining us all the way from Nebraska. So, woo! Yay! I hope the tornadoes don't reach you today.
I hope not either.
Instead it's windy. I'm like, we're going to see LaPora scooped up. Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate it. I appreciate you sharing all this information with us. And For those that are attending, I hope that you get 1 or 2 or 3 tidbits of information that you can use to move forward incorporating military spouses, military families, veterans, all of that population into your workplace to fill those positions. All right. Until next time. Bye, everyone.